Hello everyone, Ryan here. I just wanted to talk about some books I recently checked out from my local library. It's quite a number of them, so I'll just go ahead and get started. First one is titled Snakes and Earrings by Hitomi Kanehara. I do not know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's an international bestseller. Of course, this is the English translation, and it's a relatively short book. So far, as I would say, it reminds me a little bit of like something that was definitely, in fact, I believe this might have been published way before, let's see, yeah, it was definitely published way before 50 Shades of Grey. And I mean, I don't know, I would say maybe a little something has been lost in the translation, but I really don't know how to I don't know how I feel about it so far, but it just very somewhat reminds me of, 50 Shades of Grey, but not entirely. And then also too, the language, the words used are very much more simple, but also much more fluid, I guess. Yeah. So it's the first one I checked out, Snakes and Earrings. Next one is a collection of poetry. It's titled Shelley Gave Jane a Guitar. It's by Richard Meyer, and I had never heard of this writer or poet before, but I'm glad I stumbled upon it, and I definitely like it so far. I haven't read that much. It's about 108 pages total, so I guess that's technically close to about 108 poems, or 100 or so poems. And yeah, I definitely like it so far. I like Richard Meyer's use of punctuation and also indentation. Almost reminds me of Walt Whitman style, almost, but not quite. Next one I checked out is titled Shame and Wonder Essays by David Searcy or Sarcy. This is in fact relatively new, because I believe it was published, I think, this year. Trying to get to the correct page here. Yeah, it was published 2016. And so yeah, I mean, just like the title says, it's a collection of essays, and I think for the most part they're kind of based on the author's real life experiences, his interactions with various people. So I don't know, I just kind of like read through the first essay. It seemed interesting enough, so I checked it out. Next one is another poetry collection. It's titled Teeth by Aracelis Gourmet. Aracelis Gourmet. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. Yeah, this is also a collection of poetry, and this was published back in 2007. And it seemed interesting to me. Again, this is another poet that I've never heard of before. So I can't wait to sink my teeth into it. Next one I checked out happens to be one that I've seen a lot of booktubers talk about, and I've also read some reviews of. That is Red Rising. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Yeah. I like that it's set on Mars, and I like it. It kind of has this kind of futuristic yet ancient feel to it. So I haven't really read that much into it. I barely read the first chapter. But so that's another one. Next one I checked out is Voices of the Rainbow, Contemporary Poetry by Native Americans. And yeah, it's another poetry collection, except this one is a collection by various Native Americans, various people from different Native American tribes. And I definitely like it. Anything that has pretty much any book that has anything to do with Native Americans, I'm always interested in reading, because I'm always interested. I like learning about, this seemingly forgotten history of America, of North America, and because you got to admit there's a lot of history that has just been completely erased from what we consider to be history. So other one I checked out is titled The Girls by Emma Cline. And originally I thought this was going to be like some kind of like another YA novel, but I was surprised when I read the synopsis of it, and in which it says, Northern California during the violent end of the 1960s, at the start of summer, a lonely and unthoughtful teenager, Evie Boyd, sees a group of girls in the park and is immediately caught by their freedom. Their careless dress, their dangerous aura of abandon. Soon Evie is enthralled to Suzanne, a mesmerizing older girl, and is drawn to the circle of a soon-to-be infamous cult and the man who is its charismatic leader. Hidden in the hills, there are sprawling ranches, eerie and run down, but to Evie it is exotic, thrilling, charged, a place where she feels desperate to be accepted. As she spends more time away from her mother and the rhythms of her daily life, and as her obsession with Suzanne intensifies, Evie does not realize she is coming closer and closer to unthinkable violence, and to that moment in a girl's life when everything can go horribly wrong. So, yeah. There you go. It's also, I guess you could say, it's loosely based on the whole thing that happened with Charles Manson. Charles Manson and his cult, the group of people that were a part of his cult. So, to me, that definitely seemed interesting. Next one I checked out is a graphic novel. And it's called Batman Europa. This is also a fairly new one. I believe it was also published this year. Yeah. So essentially in this one, Batman becomes infected with some kind of weird virus. And then he also learns that the Joker was infected by the same virus. So then they both end up having to work together to figure out who created this virus and how to find a cure for it. So it's definitely interesting. I like the artwork. I like the illustrations. Pretty cool. Next one is another graphic novel. It's a Star Wars graphic novel. It's just titled Star Wars: The Empire Legends. And I just recently started getting back into reading graphic novels, and I just recently got into reading Star Wars graphic novels. Here's an example of the artwork. Yeah. Because I like that in the graphic novels and also in some of the Star Wars novels, this continuation of where the movies left off. And then there's also a lot of backstory that stretches as far back as, like, even way before the very first movie, even like way before there was any really any kind of Jedi or yeah. So speaking of Star Wars novels, I actually checked out a Star Wars novel. This is titled Star Wars Scoundrels. It's by Timothy Zahn. Yeah. On the back it just reads, to make his biggest score, Han's ready to take even bigger risks, but even he can't do this job solo. So here, this one involves obviously Chewbacca, Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, and then there's 4 new characters that are a part of this story. I definitely look forward to reading this. And the last one I checked out, I was surprised by its size, but I guess because it's not really, it's formatted to be this big. It's a graphic novel, but it's also a biographical graphic novel. It's about Einstein, and it's by Corinne Meyer and Anne Simon. So yeah, it's just a graphic novel about the life of Einstein, and I like the artwork in this one too, mostly because it covers Einstein's early life. I want to say like pretty much from his childhood and all the way through adulthood. Of course, here's some drawings of him when he was a little older. So, yeah, Albert Einstein happens to be one of my favorite scientists that I like reading about. So I've read biographies on him before, and yeah, so I was surprised to see that there was a graphic novel about him. So I figured, might as well check it out. So there you go. That'll do it for my recent library haul, and I want to thank you for watching. Definitely, I appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you want to. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna force you to do something you don't want to do. You know. So again, thanks for watching. Until next time, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.